Welcome to the Explainer. So, today we are diving into something really cool. It's a framework that takes ancient wisdom and reboots it, basically, as a super precise, systematic engineering manual for your own mind. We're going to forget all the myth and ritual stuff for a bit, and instead, think about things like algorithm optimization and system debugging. Yeah, for your brain.
Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we'll look at the problem we're all facing, this modern mind, ancient problems thing. Then, we'll get into the solution, engineering a new mind. We'll break that down into two phases. First, debugging reality, then balancing the whole system. After that, we gotta know our hardware, right? And finally, we'll wrap up with a crucial system warning. Let's get into it.
All right, first up, modern mind, ancient problems. We're really talking about that tear between what we achieve out in the world and the peace we're looking for inside.
So here's the core problem, right? A lot of the paths we're told to follow, well, they set up this major conflict. It's our messy, real lives right now versus some perfect, peaceful goal way off in the future. And you know what that does? It creates this incredibly inefficient escape system in our heads. We're burning so much energy chasing something that's always later. And that just leads to a ton of mental friction, cognitive dissonance, and eventually you just overload. But here's the big question. What if that whole conflict, that whole chase, is just a bug in the code, not a feature of life?
So, if it is a bug, then how do we fix it? Well, that brings us to the whole point of this explainer, engineering a new mind. This is all about shifting from old stories and myths to a narrative that's about your mind and how it relates to nature. It's a total reframe.
And this table just lays it out so clearly. Look at the difference between these two operating systems. On one side, you have the old narrative, peace is in the future, maybe after you die, and you get there by, collecting points or getting blessings. But the engineering narrative, it's completely different. It says the time is right now. The place is right here. The path isn't about getting something from the outside. It's about correcting your own cognition, integrating your own personality. It's not about fearing death. It's about having the insight to live your life completely.
Okay, so, phase one. In any good engineering project, the first thing you do is debug. You gotta find the bad code. And in this system, that means we have to deconstruct the biggest illusions we have about what liberation even means. So here they are, the three big illusions that mess up our mental software. First up, the time illusion. This is the idea that nirvana, or peace, or whatever you want to call it, is something you get later. That's a huge bug. Second, the state illusion. This is the belief that enlightenment means you'll never have negative thoughts again. That's not just wrong, it's an impossible goal. And finally, the answer illusion. This idea that there's one single piece of information out there that will fix everything. A total dead end.
So how do you actually do this? Well, you use this checklist. It's awesome. Think of it like running a diagnostic on your own mind, in real time. Just ask yourself these three questions. Am I labeling any part of what's happening right now as wrong or not the path? Am I just using my practice to run away from reality instead of seeing it more clearly? And am I grabbing onto some idea and making it the final answer? Asking these questions helps you catch those bugs before they crash the system.
All right, so we've run the debugger, now we move to phase two, balancing the system. This is where we start building, not just fixing. The idea here is to think of your mind as an integrated OS, with 5 rationality modules that all need to work together. And here they are, the 5 core modules. You've got compassion, principle, propriety, wisdom, and integrity. Now, the crucial thing to get here is that it's not about being like 100% compassionate all the time. No way. The goal is balance. It's about getting all 5 of these processors to work together in a dynamic, harmonious way. That's what a healthy, integrated system looks like. Let's take a look at each one. First, the Shakya mind, or compassion. This is your love and nurturing function. Super important, obviously. But if you have only this with no principle to guide it, you end up with just indulgence, a system weakness. And on the flip side, you've got the Ashi mind, or principle. This is all about responsibility and justice. It gives you structure, but you can see where this is going. Without compassion to soften it, it just becomes cold, mechanical, and really harsh. Then there's the Shikena mind, propriety. This module is all about boundaries, respect, how we interact with each other. It's the social protocol. But if it doesn't have integrity at its core, it just becomes empty politeness. All form, no substance. Next up, the Prajna mind, which is wisdom. This is your big picture strategic processor.
incredibly powerful. But if it's not checked by a sense of principle or integrity, what does it become? Just self-serving cunning. You're just using your intelligence to get what you want.
And finally, that brings us to the Tamo mind, integrity. This is the foundation. It's authenticity, your core truth. But if this module gets too rigid and doesn't have the flexibility of wisdom, it just hardens into stubborn dogmatism. You become unteachable.
Okay, so we've dealt with the software, we've debugged the code and balanced the core modules. Now it's time to look at the hardware. You can't optimize an operating system if you don't know the machine it's running on, right? So let's look at the body-mind interface.
So this is basically the spec sheet for you, for your own biocomputer. It maps these 6 core elements to what they actually do in your system. You've got space for communication, wind for dynamics and movement, even your thoughts, fire for energy, water for circulation, earth for structure. And then there's the last one, consciousness. This is the system's data carrier.
And this definition of consciousness is a total game changer for the whole model. It's not seen as just something your brain produces. No, it's the underlying data carrier of life itself. It's a database that exists even without the physical form. Think about what that means for death. It's no longer a data deletion. It's a data migration. Your core data persists.
Okay, and finally, we've come to the last section, the final system warning. Because like any really powerful piece of software, if you use it wrong, you can cause some serious problems. We need to talk about the dangers of what you might call half-baked enlightenment. So here's your final debug report. 4 huge system errors to watch out for. First, the scholar bug. This is when you mistake knowing all the theory for actually having the experience. You've read the cookbook, but never cooked the meal. Then there's the dogma bug, getting so stuck on one way of doing things that you reject everything else. The shortcut bug is pretty simple, using convenience as an excuse for being lazy. And finally, the superpower bug. This is a big one, chasing after special abilities instead of just focusing on clear awareness. All of these lead to that big trap, half-baked enlightenment.
And that brings us to the final takeaway. The Dharma doesn't take you away from life. It lets you finally live in it completely. The whole point of this engineering project isn't to escape your life. It's to build a system inside yourself that's so well-tuned, so debugged and balanced, that you can finally live in the world completely, without all that internal conflict. So I'll leave you with this question. What's the first bug in your own system that you're going to start working on?